I'm back. Summer is winding down, and always read a lot of contemporary books in the summer. But between September and November, I tend to read a lot of creepy books. I tend to stockpile them and just kind of put them in a pile and be like, ooh, I'll read this when fall comes. So I have about like 13 to 15 books, probably a little bit more, that I plan to focus on for the months of September, October, and November, and I want to share them with you guys in case you need some recommendations for yourself. And I'm also going to probably put out a recommendation video probably in October of some of my favorite creepy reads that I've read recently or in the past couple of years that I keep enjoying. But yeah, so I've separated my section into middle grade, inspired by books that are inspired by something creepy, fantasy, and thrillers. So let's get into it. The first bunch of books I'm going to focus on is middle grade. The first book, I've had this for a while, is The Mystery of Blackwood Lane by Julie Noble. This is from Source. It was supposed to come out in March. I know what COVID, all this stuff has been pushed. But this is a first and exciting new series. The suspenseful debut brings readers on a journey filled with secrets, mysteries, and unforgettable characters. And I think it is set in a boarding school, which I really, really like. So this will be a very, very quick read. Very, very big print. But I love boarding schools. So I hope that I like this one as well. And then the next couple of books are middle grades that just have a creepier element. This one is The Way to Rio Luna by Zordaia Cordova. This is from Scholastic, and this is about two kids wanting them something in the real land, the enchanted land in the fair book of fairy tales. And this adventure takes them from New York to Ecuador to Danny. Danny learns the meaning from favorite characters that it isn't always a dream come true, but nothing will stop him from finding his sister. So I guess his sister goes missing. It reminds me a little bit, just like the summary that I'm reading, of the Land of Stories series, but a little bit more diverse. I love the Land of Stories series. I hope I like this. This was supposed to come out in June. I don't know if it did. But it sounds like a very, very light-hearted read, and I'm really excited to dive into it. Another one that's on my list is The Wolf of Cape Fen by Julie Ann Bartlett, and this is Beyond the Bright Sea meets Echo. In this story is a young girl who must break a magical barrier before an enchanted wolf steals her sister away. Another book where a sister is taken. I have a theme going on. And this was supposed to come out in April. So I don't know if it's actually out or not. But it sounds like another, fun adventure story with kind of a creepy twist. And I'm really excited for it. I'm going to stop saying really excited, sorry. This is another one. This is The Middler by Christy Applebaum, and this is supposed to come out in April, and it says outside the water of Maggie's town, a quiet war rages, and the dirty and dangerous wanderers roam. I think this is about a society where there is creatures outside that want to kill them. But it's very, very short, and it looks fun, and I like books kind of about enclosed cities because they're a little bit more creepy. I also have The Curse of the Night Witch by Alex Esther. I got this at ALA, and this is a fast-paced adventure starter perfect for the fans of Aru Shah, filled with adventure, mythology, and unforgettable trio of characters. This is another mythology-themed book, and I tend to really, really like those. I really do like Rick Riordan. And I have one more from this pile, which is Hollow Dolls by McKay Kalani. This was supposed to come out in January. I'm sure it's out, but this is set in the same fantasy world as the Shadow Weaver duology. This series weaves a tale of secrets, power, magic, and a long path home. And this one follows a mind reader, and I think that is such a cool magical power. The next stack we're going to tackle is Inspired By. Inspired by means that they're kind of inspired by something, they're based on a movie or a TV show or a concept. So let's get into it. The first one is not a surprise. It is Sabrina, the Season of the Witch, which is the prequel novel of this TV series. It's actually going to be over soon. But I remember watching it and I felt a little bit lost. I didn't really understand the concept because I've never read the comics before. So I think if I'm to read this, I might be able to frame myself a little bit better just to kind of dive into the TV show already. And I did like it. I like the actors a lot. I just felt like I was missing a little bit of background, and it's not that long. And I honestly was saving this for Halloween. And I would love to watch that show during Halloween. It would be a great Halloween watch. But yeah, so this is the first book in that section. The next one in that section is Bewitched by Paige Mackenzie and Nancy Owen. A long witch has powers, a coven has a multitude more. And this is just kind of like loosely inspired by Bewitched. There's a coven of witches, and it says perfect fans for Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, and Mean Girls alike. This was supposed to come out in July. I haven't heard anything about it, to be honest, so I'd have to look up and see like if it came out. But I really, really like Buffy, as you'll see with another book in this pack. Chosen by Kirsten White is a book that I really just have to read. I really like Slayer. I think this is the perfect time to dive into this, and I hope that I finally get around to it. I don't know if we're getting a third book in this series coming out in 2021, but I remember really, really liking Slayer, and I have had this on so many TBRs since then. I just never got around to it. So maybe this will motivate me to actually rewatch Buffy, because it's been a bit. But I really enjoyed the first book and hope that I have same thoughts about the second book. And yeah, so that's all the books for the Inspired By section. Is mysteries and thrillers. And these are kind of like, some are set in modern day, some are set in historical fiction time. So let's get into it. The first one is The 10th Girl by Sarah Faring. And I actually do have her second book on NetGalley. I think it's called White Fox. But this is another thing that is set like at an isolated like boarding school. And I remember this was one of the last books I got at BEA, like when we had BEA, because I remember we like waited and we were there until like exactly 4:30, and the people on the convention floor got so mad at us. But it's still high on my TBR, and if I like this, I will probably do like a dual reading vlog with this and White Fox, because I just get an e-arc from that. But yeah, I love books about creepy boarding schools. I just do. I'm scared very, very easily, so we'll see if I can make through it. I also have Wilder Girls by Rory Power on my TBR, but that might be a little bit too scary for me. I'm going to try it, but I think it might be a little bit too scary for me, so that's why it's not in this TBR. Another book is one that I got a very, very long time ago from New York City Comic Con, and it's What We Buried by Kate A. Borman. And this is about, like, I think her parents go missing, and she's kind of involved in like a court case about it. She's suing her parents for emancipation because of what happened. And then it kind of leads to a mystery thriller aspect. So that counts kind of cool. I've never actually read anything by this author before, but this cover definitely intrigued me. Another one that just came out is I Killed Zoni Spanos by Kat Frick. And this is kind of a book about a girl named Anna who winds up going to this small town. She winds up being like, basically she's like, oh, you look a lot like this person, and then that person is found dead, and she's kind of the primary suspect in her murder, and there's a podcast element. I really do like true crime stuff, so I really hope that this one like might pique my fancy. And it just came out, and the pages are very, very pretty, so I bought this for myself, but hopefully I wind up getting around to it. Another one, now this is a little bit of a tease for you guys, because this book is not actually out in America yet. Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. This is the sequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but I got this on Book Depository when I saw that it was out, and this definitely dives into the podcast elements of the first book, where she's trying to solve like a cold case, but she like kind of adds a podcast element to it. So I really hope that I get around to reading this. I just don't know when book 2 comes out here. I know this one's out already, but I'm intrigued, and I hope that I end up liking it. And then the next one I think this one's Girl at the Grave by Tara Bailey Black. I just read Chasing Starlight, which was another one of her like mystery thrillers, and I wound up liking this. But this is like a historical fiction mystery. And I think it's like her mom is accused of being a witch, and she kind of has to kind of like untangle the mystery of that. That sounds kind of cool. This cover is very, very pretty as well. And then the last one is one that I just picked up. Penguin Underline just like launched like a bunch of like paperbacks only, and this is The Game by Lindsay Miller. Every year they play the game. Basically, it's kind of inspired by Assassin. I used to play Assassin when I worked at a summer camp, and I died every single time. But I think that this one has an actual killer involved. No one died in my game, but I remember that I really, really like playing it, and I hope that I read this and it just kind of brings back memories of summer fun at Stage Door Manor. which is where I worked for like a couple of years. And then the last pile we're gonna get into is a fantasy. Really excited about is Ink in the Blood by Kim Smeljic, and actually the sequel is actually coming out relatively soon. But this is a lush, dark YA fantasy debut that weaves together tattoo magic, fate, eccentric theater in a world where lies are currency and ink is a weapon. Can we just admire this book for a minute? This cover is gorgeous. And yeah, I love books that have like a theater element to it because I am a theater teacher and I love dark and creepy, and I really love like curling up in my bed when it's like raining outside and just like diving into a fantasy world. I say again, I'm not the biggest horror fan, but I do like creepy. Another one that I got from ALA was Ghostwood Song by Erica Waters. Reads that let's clarify, is somewhat creepier, have some creepier topics. So let's get into them. The first book that I hope to read, I've actually heard about this a lot on Twitter in recent days, but it is Ghostwood Song by Erica Waters, and it's basically the meeting is Saltkill Girls meets beautiful creatures in this lush, eerie debut where the boundary between reality and nightmares is as thin as the veil between the living and the dead. And it's about a girl whose father used to be able to commune with the dead through a violin, and she can kind of do the same, but she's very hesitant to use her powers until a family member gets into some trouble and she has to come to the rescue. I read like the first chapter while I was waiting for my food to come, and it sounds really intriguing, so I hope to actually read this relatively quickly. Another one that I was very excited to pick up at ALA was Ink in the Blood by Kim Smeljic. The sequel's coming out relatively soon, I think early next year. I know that it's up on NetGalley. But this is a lush, dark YA fantasy debut that weaves together tattoo magic, faith, eccentric theater in a world where lies are currency and ink is a weapon. I love books that have theater as like a background. I love Where Dreams Fall, Where Dreams Descend. I really like the finale series. I am a theater teacher, so I really, really like that. And this sounds like a lush fantasy read. And I love creepy. I don't like horror, but I do like creepy. And these two books seem right up my alley. Another one is definitely like a series that I want to start early. Well, during COVID, I started watching Legacies, which is one of the spin-offs to the Vampire Diaries. So I decided that I'm going to pick up Born at Midnight by C.C. Under, which is the Shadowfall series. And there's like 2 series. I think my friend Justin got this for me like a while ago. But it's, vampires, werewolves, shapeshifters, witches, and fairies train side by side, learning to harness powers and control their magic and live in a normal world. That sounds so much like Legacies, and I remember just craving more of it. So hopefully I read this one and like it, and then I can move on. Another one that I picked up at ALA was Witches of Ash and Rune by E. Lemire, and this is a modern witchcraft blends with ancient Celtic mythology in a mesmerizing novel that's perfect for fans of Shade of Magic and the chilling adventures of Sabrina. Again, I like books about witches. I have quite a few on my TBR, and this is the most recent one, and this one came out in March, I think. And then the next book I am is actually a concluding one to a series, and that's A Deck of Omes by Christina Lynn Herman. This is the sequel to The Devouring Grey. I really, really like The Devouring Grey. I actually went to re-listening to it earlier this year in preps to read this, and I was saving it for Halloween, so hopefully I get to read it soon. And the last arc I'm going to talk about in this video is Eventide by Sarah Goodman, which is an arc I got from Tor Teen a couple of months back. And this is set in 1907 and a historical fiction mystery. In addition to all these books, I would really like to catch up on Carrie Matascalco series, the Jack the Ripper series. I want to read the last 2 books, and I actually am going to make those my priority. I read the Dracula one last year, and I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. But I definitely want to complete that series, and also Kingdom of the Wicked is coming out. And I'm also going to probably do a video at some point of like some creepy books that are coming out this year. And Kingdom of Wicked will be on that. Cemetery Boys will be on that. But yeah. So let me know in the comments what are some fall books that are high on your TBR. And I'll talk to you